Um, hey guys, so my guest today is the epitome of going after your dreams, at
Oh,
least in my eyes. So she did something most of us would not even think about or consider doing. So I'm so excited to have her here. Diina is a dear friend, and I can't wait to share her story and her point of view with you today. So, Dina,
thank you for having me.
yeah, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. First, please tell everyone watching like this crazy story of basically going from studying psychology in Estonia to pursuing a career as a dancer in New York, which is like two very different worlds.
Yeah, they are. They're different, but they've always felt somehow supernatural to me. And I don't know. I think I'm kind of a last minute person in everything I do, which probably is not a very good thing, but it is what it is. And after I studied psychology for 5 years, I understood that it's like either like I'm pursuing that for good now, or and then I would probably have to say goodbye to like professional dancing. And I always had it in my mind, but it was when it was actually the moment that like I should make a decision now, then I was like, I can't say no to dance. I just can't. A passion is a passion, and I believe in like following your heart and following what's like yours. So I decided to kind of put psychology on hold, I guess. It's never really been on hold. It's always like a part of me, but just the amount is a bit less than it used to be. And the year I was supposed to graduate, I had a trip to New York with two of my friends, and we visited a local dance school in New York, and it completely changed my mind, changed my whole picture of like dance and dance education and performing world. And I honestly I just felt that it's my place, and I decided to go with that feeling. That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that there had to be obviously a lot of fear, right? Making that decision. Not only like the moving to the other side of the world part, but also pursuing a career in an industry that's notoriously, famous for being competitive, right? It's not easy to succeed in arts in general, and especially in music or dance. So how did you cope with the fear, and what really gave you the confidence to say like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pursue this, I don't care if I'm afraid?
I didn't know what I'm getting myself into. No, I mean, just to clarify, I did dance professionally in Estonia as well, but it was always like as a second thing that you do. But yeah, as weird as it is, everyone asks me about this. I had no fear about like moving here. I was literally so excited that I never had like thought that like oh my god, and I think what worked in my favor that I had absolutely no idea how huge and how different the industry is from what we had in Estonia. So yeah, I didn't quite picture like how big and how competitive and how it is like actually to be here, which is probably a good thing. I don't know if I would have had more fear, but I'm also the kind of person who thinks with most of the things, I guess, that it's better an oops than what if.
Yeah.
So I just I just wanted to do it and give it a try so badly, and I guess I just asked myself that like, I mean, what is the very worst thing that can happen? Like I'll go and I don't know, I won't make any friends, or I won't find any jobs, or like whatever. Like I didn't think that it would happen, but I was like, I can always go back home, and in case it happens, I will never have to be thinking like, oh, what if I like gave it a try. Like in my opinion, like that's the worst thing that could happen to you, to really want something but like not to do it out of fear, because probably like personal growth is on the other side of the comfort zone. Many things that you want are on the other side of fear. um, and like it took me a while to get to know the industry, to realize how huge it is, to realize how different is my background from like many people that come from here. um, so yes, I think I I was just like super excited, and I just trusted my dream. I just went for it, and I didn't know like many things that are.
Yeah, I love that you brought out the sort of the worst case scenario, and for you, it wasn't failing, it was not trying. And I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like if we look at it from that perspective, like, and also like you went to the worst case scenario in the sense that, okay, I fail, I don't get any jobs, I'm broke, but I can always go back, right? I can always
Yeah,
sort of go back home or to that comfort zone and start
right,
over
right.
there,
But
right?
I think, sorry, that's like also something one of my dance teachers said last week in class. And he said, and I think it's pretty unique for people, definitely in performing arts, and like, I mean, anything you do professionally that is actually your passion. But we were talking about how hard it is to like succeed, and how like hard it is to find jobs and everything. And he said something to the class. He was like, guys, how many people do you know who can be broke? Maybe sometimes they don't have place to live. Maybe they just eat, I don't know, noodles or $1 pizza. But like, so you don't have anything, but you're so damn excited about. You're still so excited about what you're doing. It's pretty cool. So I was like, yeah, it is pretty cool. Some like most of the time, like when you are broke and you have like 99 problems, but you're still so excited about what you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a thing to appreciate.
Yeah, I do get that. I mean, being so passionate about something that you don't even care if it does sort of bring in the bacon or it doesn't, you would do it anyway, no matter what. But on the flip side, like there are always setbacks, right? We always experience
Yeah.
setbacks. So what has been the biggest setback that you have had to overcome?
I don't know. I don't know if I can name like one like certain thing, but like of course, like it's hard. There are like a lot of moments when you're like, I don't know, when you fail at the audition, when you don't perform as good as you can, when you, I think the worst moment is when you're like really start to doubt yourself.
Mm.
That's like a very dangerous place where to be. Sometimes like things take time, and you expect things to happen quickly. They don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you really need to be like very committed, very consistent. And I think one thing that I learned here is also that if you don't book a certain job, it's, it's, I think from the culture where I come from, it's like if you like, I don't know, if you don't get the audition, if you don't get the interview, whatever, at least back then, I feel that it was considered more like as a, let's say, failure. Here, it's like it's a normal part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for you. There will be a no one. You just have to make peace with it, and you have to keep like trying and trying and trying and trying. And it took me like a while maybe to learn that. And yes, sometimes you think that you want to do the certain job, role, whatever, really badly. Sometimes you get it, and sometimes you realize that this was not yours at all. um, So yes, there are like a lot of things that you can't control. And it's, you just need to learn that it's a part of it. And things take time. Things, sometimes good things take like a lot of time, and you just like patiently have to go with it. And it's hard, it's really hard sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, those are really great tips. But how do you keep that mindset of, like you said, like that growth mindset of like, I'll have patience, I'll get better, I'll keep trying, instead of, letting that self-doubt take
Yeah,
over? Because like you said, it does tend to creep in if we maybe have like a bad week or
right.
several setbacks.
I
How
mean,
do you deal?
yeah. it's it's hard. There are like days when when I'm just not in a good place, and you get tired, and you're like how many times, I you feel like this basketball sometimes, that like it's constantly like something is pushing you against the ground, and sometimes the push is like really hard, and then you like bounce really high, but then you're like pushed again and again and again, and then you're like how much can I take it? But I mean, I have amazing friends who are supportive. um People in the community like who are doing the same thing. Like there is something to learn from every single I mean, there is something to learn from the person outside of you, of whatever you do as well. But I'm like really trying to focus and to write down like the good things that have happened, to just like keep them in mind whenever like it's a tough time. And when actually, if to come back to like setbacks, then at some point I realized that like the background that I had coming from Estonia is like just very different from what many people have here. And I really try to like make up for it, and it's a good thing. But at some point, you just have to realize that like, okay, this is what I have, and I just have to work on it. And it might be like different, and it's not a bad thing. And I think that's also like one of the things that keeps you like on the ground, to like just trust that like everyone has their own journey. And you like the moment you start comparing yourself to others, like that's the slippery road. You just really need to like trust that like you have your own you have your own way, and like you have your own things that are great to do. And just focus on them. And sometimes I think that like I also we all forget how far we have come sometimes, because
Sure.
there are a lot of things that to me are they are so random. I don't know, I forget to even talk about it sometimes. And then I try to like take a step back and like be like, okay, but the version of me who came to New York, it's gonna be 5 years soon, almost like 4 or 5 years ago. And like I couldn't even like imagine things like this, I and they just they become very like ordinary to you, and maybe you don't appreciate them as much, because there are so many people around you who are amazing and who inspire you, but you also like compare yourself to them, and then you're like, oh, but what I'm doing is nothing compared to whoever is performing here or choreographing that. But if you come back to your own personal journey, what you were like years ago, yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind. But I'm not really good at it. I'm trying to actually like stick with what I'm saying. But this is the things that I would recommend to someone else. I When I came to New York first, I I was like doing like minimal choreographing stuff, if I think about that. And like last summer, I presented my first like own piece, bigger piece in the center of Manhattan. And when I was working on it, like it was great time, but it was also like a stressful time. And then it was done, and then you were like, oh, everything seems impossible until you do it, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh, I mean, it was what it was. Like, yeah, I did it, and it was great. And if I take like a few steps back and be like, oh, there was time, and I didn't want to put my work out, even like on some student project, then yeah. I think it's like you really have to focus on your journey. Like that's one of the main things I would remind myself and
Yeah.
anyone else.
You sort of already gave so many lessons, but I'm still gonna ask the question of like,
Yeah.
what is the biggest lesson you think you have learned on this journey?
I think that you really have to be friends with yourself because the way you think and see things, it really starts to like have an influence on like anything you do, and it's true when they say that like you can be your own worst enemy because there are like a lot of insecurities and like anything that come your way, and I've seen it on myself that like your mind shifts at some point from like, oh, like I'm good at this or that, to like, oh yeah, that's, you know, that's not really my thing, or there is someone who is doing it better than me. And yeah. If you're not as good at something as you want to be, then you should be like, okay, this is something I wish I could do better, so I need to invest more time in practicing that skill, or getting to know more about a certain topic or whatever. Yes, and just yeah, being patient and trusting the things that I do. And yeah, I really think that like if you're in a good place with yourself, a lot of doors like open, because you're open to other people, you're open to possibilities, and yeah.
You show up differently, right? If you're
Very
in this mindset,
differently.
yeah.
Yes, I mean, you know, if you come from Estonia, you're like more like, oh yeah, no, don't look at me, look at
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know the struggle is real for sure. And I loved how like so many great nuggets of wisdom that you shared, that I so agree with 100%. Yeah, compare like looking at your own journey rather than looking left and right what others are doing, and not getting bogged down by someone else doing it better than you, then
it's
just like
hard, yeah.
get into a growth mindset. And I also think that, and I'm sure you agree, that everyone has their own unique perspective to share, so it's not just about the skill set or doing something better or worse. It's about doing something differently maybe,
Yeah.
and that is sharing that with the world.
And I think one of the big things is also like appreciate things that like really make you happy. Don't trust social media so much. Sometimes things that look great on the outside are not as great like underneath. And you try to go for it because it seems so like great somewhere, but just trust what like feels good. Things you see on social media sometimes are not as green as they seem. Like people have told me sometimes, oh my god, like you were like, I saw you like performing or here or there, or like that photo shoot, like you looked so happy. And I'm like, yeah, we had this and these issues like on this project, and like during the shoot, like I was like actually feeling like really low, and like it's, you know, it's so like don't go for like someone else's dream, or don't go for like what you see being like, wow, this is so great. Like go for something that you feel is yours. It's the same thing with like friends advice. Like I always appreciate but someone has to tell me or teach me. But it's the same thing, your friend's journey, even if they have the best intentions, it's still different from yours. So sometimes you can learn from advice and appreciate and respect it, but you know, you still have to do your own thing. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So much wisdom. Thank you for sharing that. So if folks that are in New York or in the area, want to check out what you're doing, maybe see you perform or support you in any other ways, where could they find you? What's coming up for you?
I'm trying to be better with my social media and everything. See, this is another thing. I'm sorry. I'm coming back for the things that I had to learn here as an Estonian. Like promoting yourself can be really hard because we're not used to that. And you have to do it. You have to do it a lot in this industry, and it feels very uncomfortable. But then you come out of your comfort zone and, do stuff you haven't done before, and then you're like, oh, I'm grown. I'm preparing this really cool dance live music bound show that we're performing in Washington DC on 3rd of May at National Gallery, and we have 2 amazing dancers in it and 3 wonderful musicians, and it's a little bit connected to Estonian culture because we have a big birthday coming up next year. So we're trying to put together the pieces of like where we're coming from with the world around us, and put different forms of art together. So I'm very excited about that project. Yes, that's I think the biggest thing on my agenda right now. And I'm trying to keep people updated better with like everything else that I do because sometimes I forget about the marketing section of of my career.
Yeah, and I'll post your Instagram handle and maybe some other links in the comment section as well, so that people can check you out. Well, thank you so much for finding time to do this today and to share all of that wonderful insight into sort of that crazy journey for yourself.
But always go for it. That would be like, always go for it. But, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to share some pieces of it.
Thanks.